Welcome in to a brand new episode of the Sports Hub Patriots podcast. It's a full 98.5 thesportshub.com edition today. Alex, Barth, Matt Dolloff with you. We were both down at practice. A little bit more involved practice, Matt, than the one last week. Now, there were no pads, really no contact. There's a little bit of offense versus defense. So, again, we'll be speaking in generalities, and this all comes with a grain of salt. But I would say, and Gerard Mayo said before practice that they were it was going to be a little bit more resembling real football today than it was last week, and I would call that an accurate assessment.
Yeah, no, it was awesome to get back out there with you today. It was my first day out there this season, so I only missed one OTA. Is that correct?
Yeah, so today was their fourth practice. It was the second open to the media.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, yeah. So, I missed one open practice. So, yeah, no, it was good to get out there. And, yeah, it was a little surprising that I thought the team drills late in practice were, to call them competitive drills might be a little bit of a stretch because you said there were no pads. Right. But it was relatively competitive for what it was, which was,
for this time of year.
Yeah, a lot of walkthrough type stuff. But, defensive backs were getting all over the receiver trying to make plays and things like that. So, it was fun to see that for, the second practice of the offseason. But, there was not much to sink our teeth into for most of the time we were there. But, that end session was pretty fun to watch.
Well, so I'll just add, too, we talked a lot. I had Taylor Kyles on last week after the first practice, and we talked about the big issue we had coming away was Drake Maye didn't do a ton. And they were only on one field. It was all 90 players. They didn't split it up like we usually see them do in training camp, where it's, the starters over here and the backups over here and all that. And we got that today. They split it up, and it was a lot more run for Drake Maye. He was still the third quarterback repping behind Jacoby Brissett and Bailey Zappi. Joe Milton didn't practice today, but he did more. And at this point, for me personally, and some people might disagree with this, but I don't care if he's repping first, second, third. I that doesn't really bother me, because at this point you're just trying to get him going in terms of his technique, his fundamentals, getting used to taking snaps under center, calling cadence in an NFL offense, getting used to the new hashes, all that. Like, if we get to August 1st and he's still repping behind Bailey Zappi, it'll be a very different conversation. But right now, it's just getting him in the swing of things. To me, it's a volume thing. It's at this point, it's quantity over quality. That will change, but at this point, it's quantity over quality. So to just see him get more reps today, and I would say he got about the same number of reps as Jacoby Brissett in Bailey Zappi, which I think is all you can really ask for. I would consider that encouraging.
Yeah, no, to your point, Alex, I think if we got to late July for training camp, it was still the exact same setup, with Drake Maye getting exclusively, third team type of reps, where he's on this one side, he's on the one field by himself, and then Jacoby Brissett and Bailey Zappi are, splitting the work on the other side of the field. I'd be a little surprised. I'd be surprised if he wasn't mixed in a little bit more. I think Maye got 3 reps with the side that Jacoby Brissett and Bailey Zappi were on. He got a little taste of that. But yeah, I agree 100% with, what I saw out there was, on the Jacoby Brissett, Bailey Zappi side, it was, this is the offense. Let's get these guys ready to run this offense. And on the Drake Maye side, it was, this is how you run an NFL offense. This is what we need to show you from the ground up. And I feel like that's sort of the process with Drake Maye right now, which I think is a totally fair and understandable process. I think it would be, frankly, stupid to just throw him right in there and expect him to start right away and play at a high level and do everything the way you expect him to do it. So I think it's the right approach to take it slow with Drake Maye. And we're not against crossing sports on this podcast, right, Barth? We're not.
Absolutely not. Go for it.
Let me cross sports real quick. I'm a hockey guy, and I was busy covering the Bruins for a couple months there. It's sort of like sending a guy down to Providence as opposed to playing him only 7-8 minutes a night in the NHL. He gets all the reps he can.
Right.
He gets the experience he needs as, in a starter type of role, playing all different kinds of situations. So we saw the Bruins do that with, defenseman Mason Lowry, who looks like a good player coming up. But to get back to football, I think it's good to get Drake Maye the reps on his side of the field. He got to run his own huddle for an extended period, which was, I think, just good experience for him. And I know that he was playing with a lot of backups. They were mixing in some veterans over there. He played a little bit with, Juju Smith-Schuster. He completed a couple passes to Jalen Polk, the rookie. So I think those two are sort of building a connection. But yeah, they're really mixing up the personnel as far as pass catchers are concerned, but it's clear that Drake Maye is the third in the pecking order right now. But I think it's the right approach. I think they need to take it slow with him and develop him as slowly and gradually as they need to and not sort of rush him into anything.
Well, I'll say this to extend your analogy. You can leave that guy in Providence and let him get experience. But at a certain point, you got to call him up to the NHL and play him because that's the only way he's going to ultimately reach his peak. He's not going to max out while he's waiting in Providence. So at a certain point, Drake May's got to start going against NFL starters like in practice. That has to happen. But for now, I think just getting more reps is a good thing. You were kind of, I was watching a few things. You were kind of narrowed in on Drake Maye in practice. You started your May Watch series today. Good name. Did you use that logo? You texted us a logo. Did you use the logo?
That may or may not be the official Baywatch logo that I found online. Yeah, I need to try to find I need to figure out how to incorporate that into the content.
Just slap it on the picture, like you just. I just put it on the picture, like we did with the Draft Hub logo. But so what did you see? What did you see from Drake Maye today?
Well, I got down there close during the early periods when we're allowed to record video, and so they were doing the simple drills, based on footwork. One was based on, accuracy with the nets, and they had to throw into the nets, sort of like you're at Dave and Buster's or something like that. That was a little bit new. That was fun. I was closely watching his dropbacks and his footwork because that's, sort of the book on him that he needs to work on that. And I'm not going to pick that apart. I'm not a QB mechanics expert. I leave that to, our colleague Scott Zolak or someone who actually played the position. But you could tell, like, just watching him, even from certain angles, if he's coming straight back at you, it's not a perfectly straight, a perfectly clean drop back. It seems a little bit all over the place. So that's something that they're going to need to clean up with him. But, the ball comes out, a quick spiral, good zip on it. And so I'm not too worried about that. I didn't see much, problems with the throwing motion that I know have been reported on. I'm not saying he's sort of figured that out, but he's been praised for figuring out, correcting his mistakes and things like that early on here. So that's a good sign for him. But, I like his release. I like his size. I like his you can see that he moves around quickly. He's a good athlete for a guy his size. I thought in the team drills, he moved around in the pocket pretty well. One of his reps in the team drills, it felt like it was almost by design, but he sort of scrambled up the middle there. He got through the middle of the line. So I like all the physical attributes. I think it's in terms of learning the offense and learning how to command the huddle and run the offense. That's the stuff where he's really far behind, and he needs a lot of time to work on those things. But I'm less worried about the physical, mechanical stuff. I think they're going to figure that out, and I think he just needs time to sort of learn the playbook and learn how to run an NFL offense.
I think to your point about, picking things up quickly, the biggest thing that stood out to me through, I guess we can throw a rookie minicamp in there, 3 practices, is his footwork is much better than it was at UNC, and it continues to get better. So that's something he's picking up quickly, which is encouraging. He still has, room to go, but it's encouraging. I think there's more. It all felt I don't want to say lazy is not the right word, but like there was very little consistency in his footwork. He was just sort of, the drop back was just sort of walking backwards. I don't think there was a ton of purpose to it at UNC. Now it feels like there's purpose. They still got to tighten some of the things up mechanically, but you can see, like, you're seeing the framework of what they're building towards his work being. From the waist up, it still looks good. I know some people still worry about, like, he leans his shoulders back a little bit when he throws sometimes. That doesn't bother me a ton because the ball's still getting there. I know some people talk about like release point and all that, but the reality is, like, he's got really long arms. If his shoulder's down a little bit, if it's working, basically. I'm not super concerned with it as much as some other people are. I think if he's still getting the ball there, he's still getting the ball there. It's not lengthening his release or anything, right? It's not like it's taking him longer to get the ball out. But if that is something they plan on cleaning up, I think what we've seen from the footwork is he can adjust his mechanics relatively quickly. And that's encouraging. So that's kind of where I'm at with Drake Maye. Like, he made a couple nice throws today. He had one, it wasn't like a deep throw or anything, but there was a return route. TJ Luther ran it, and I think it was Azizi Hearn. Yeah, it was Azizi Hearn was the corner, and was right on him, no window. And look, Azizi Hearn, TJ Luther, these aren't guys that are going to be on the team. But the point being, like, there's no window to throw the ball, and Maye just kind of zipped it right in there and got it to Luther, who made the catch. So when we talk,
yeah. When
we talk about arm strength, I think something that gets lost in translation a lot, arm talent and all that. And moving on from Mac Jones, who maybe didn't have the strongest arm. A lot of people just picture that like 80
Sorry,
yard.
Barth, we're having technical difficulty.
Are we? Can you hear me now? You got me?
Yeah, you just heard me.
Yeah, I got you. Okay.
Sorry about that.
No, I would say like
I don't know. Seems like the internet's breaking up on my end. It might be me.
We'll see. We'll power through here. We'll see if we can get this to work. So I with Maye,
shout out to our fans on YouTube.
It gets lost in translation sometimes with going from Mac Jones to Drake Maye, arm strength. Everybody pictures that 80-yard bomb down the field, whereas it's just as important to be able to zip it in the tight window from 10 yards away and have the velo to get the ball there. And so you saw that from Drake Maye today, and I think that's encouraging. But at the end of the day, it is still shirts and shorts. I don't know how much you put in his overall performance. Are you putting any stock in Joe Milton not being out there today? There were a couple guys that were out that are presumably fighting for roster spots. Jake Andrews, Sam Roberts, maybe Sione Takitaki. So I'm wondering if there's like an illness or something, because those guys, Milton included, those are not guys that can afford to skip OTA practices, in my mind.
Yeah, if Joe Milton can't make it to June, I mean, that's a bad sign for him just overall. So, yeah. And
right, especially after Elliott. Yeah.
So Takitaki was supposed to meet with the media today.
Yes.
So, I mean, I wonder if there was just an illness or something and they had to quarantine them, so to speak. And that's why we didn't get to see any of them. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to read into that too much. We'll see if Milton's back out there next time we see them practice. Yeah, I wouldn't read too much into that.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I just, again, you'd think those guys would be out there, and I wonder what's going on with that, because they are still important reps for all these guys. Jake Andrews, Sam Roberts, not just Joe Milton. Move on to the receivers, because it was a big day. It was a competitive day in coverage. I think there were a lot of instances where the corners showed out, and then there were instances where the receivers showed out, even when they were covered well. Javon Baker high pointed a couple balls, made some really nice catches. Pop Douglas had a highlight catch. Tyquan Thornton made a few catches through contact, which is, gets your antennas up. Although I don't know. We'll start with Thornton.
Yeah.
He was great last spring too. And then the pads came on and everything changed. I'll believe it when I see it. And what I mean by that, not that we're not seeing it right now, but like, I'll believe it when I see it in live reps. I'll believe it when I see it when they can hit him and they can jam him at the line. They can hit him at the point of contact, because he's a really fast guy with long arms. He should be able to succeed in shorts and a t-shirt, and he's doing that. I'm just not at the point where I'm ready to totally buy in on the stock yet 100%.
Yeah, no, Tyquan Thornton looks great when you can't touch him. I mean, that's sort of what we saw today. He did make a good leaping catch. I forget, it might have been Drake Maye that threw him the ball.
It was, yeah.
An out to the left, and yeah, he went up and got the ball. And then he had another one deep down the sideline from Jacoby Brissett during that late 11-on-11 period. And so he flashed, but yeah, to your point, it's when the pads come on that the real test begins for him. And we got to see that he could be tougher at the catch point and make catches contested with guys all over him, guys in tight coverage. So yeah, we're pretty much going to have to wait until late July to see exactly how much progress Tyquan Thornton has made. This will be his third straight, good looking summer in a row up until training camp, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, this is a guy, he looked promising in training camp as a rookie. And we looked at him and thought, okay, they might actually hit on a guy here. But yeah, it's that build, it's the slight frame. And I know he keeps working on bulking up in the offseason. The guy's never going to be 200 pounds. So it's like, he's just always going to have that wiry build, and he's going to have to overcome that. He's going to have to be tougher when the ball comes to him and the pads are on and the guys are trying to hit him and knock the ball loose. So yeah, we're going to have to we'll keep a close eye on him as far as how he's performing in these non-padded drills, how they're using him, how he's repping and things like that. But yeah, the real test for Thornton is going to be when the pads come on. We're going to have to wait until July to really know how much progress he's made.
Meanwhile, I will buy in on what Javon Baker is doing, because he's the kind of receiver that usually struggles in shorts and a t-shirt. Like, he's the kind of guy that we usually come on here and say, yeah, he hasn't done much. Wait till I get the pads on. He's a physical receiver. No, he's making plays right now. And again, we've got a long way to go, but he looks the part. Like, a lot of the things that were hyped about him, the ball skills, the downfield ability, the tenacity through 2 practices. Like, they're showing up. They look like they're there. Long way to go again, but I've liked what I've seen from him so far.
Yeah, no, the ball skills are there. He's got good size. We all know about his confidence and his swagger and things like that. You definitely want at least some of that out of the wide receiver position. So, yeah, no, and I saw he got some work with Jacoby Brissett, him and Jalen Polk. So, I mean, that's a sign to me that the Patriots at least are planning on, or they at least want to play the rookies early. They don't want to, bring them along as slowly as we've seen with rookie receivers in the past. And it's a good sign that Jacoby Brissett is working with them and sort of building a connection there. I like what I've seen from Baker and Polk so far. And, it's hard to tell, like we were talking about with Thorne, because the pads aren't on yet. And, not a lot of actual competitive drills, but just the fact that they're repping in those, the most competitive drills of the day and making plays on top of that. Yeah, it's a good sign for Baker. And, he was a 5th round pick, right? So, it looks like he has a good chance to outperform his draft stock either way. You got to like his confidence and the fact that he's already out there making plays and, his second open OTA that we've ever seen from him.
Anybody else on offense stand out to you?
I said Jalen Polk, right? We said
you kind of mentioned him in passing. If you want to get into him anymore, you can.
No, I mean, Pop Douglas had a great day. I thought Douglas had a great day, and it looks like him and Brissett in particular. Like I talked about Brissett building a connection with the rookies. It looks like him and Pop Douglas have a really good rapport. They connected on a couple of deep balls, and I'm looking forward. I want to see him make a lot more plays to get drives started. We haven't seen a lot of those drive starters in the past few years. Like I feel like ever since. Even going back to the last couple of years of Tom Brady, like he didn't really have that reliable safety valve, even for the last year or two of his career, it felt like when the offense started to struggle. And we really haven't seen much of that over the last few years. And so I would love to see Demario Douglas sort of step up and become that guy that could be sort of the engine of the offense. And maybe he'll lead the team in targets. I was talking with Chris Price from the Globe earlier today. He's like, do you think Pop Douglas could lead the team in catches this year? I was like, he could lead the team in targets. Like, I don't know how many these passes are going to be completed. I don't know how accurate the quarterbacks are going to be, but Douglas feels like a guy who should be playing a lot of snaps. He should be starting. He should be playing in the slot, and he should be making a lot of quick plays, off the line of scrimmage and quick plays to just get drives started, get a quick 5-yard catch on 1st and 10 to just sort of get rolling. But he also made those deep ball catches. I mean, hopefully we see a lot more out of Pop Douglas this year than we did last year, because he sort of got buried after he struggled early on. So hopefully we see a little more confidence from the coaches in him going forward. And it feels like him and Brissett are building a connection. So that was good to see.
I mean, to me, the big thing with Pop Douglas is like, he's got to stay healthy. If he's going to have a volume role, we saw him get dinged up a couple times last year, multiple concussions. If he stays healthy, he should be the best receiver on this team. But that's the one thing with me, with him in a volume role. On defense, I think the big takeaway today, and I kind of said it, like receivers were making plays, but they were covered. And you're continuing to see Christian. So Christian Gonzalez is limited. He's out there, but he's not really doing team drills. Jonathan Jones was limited last week. He wasn't out there today at all. So you're that next boundary corner spot, which is a big one, which is an important one. We're seeing Alex Austin, Marco Wilson, and today more of Isaiah Bolden in those roles. And I thought they all looked good today. All three had pass breakups. You also saw on the back end, we've talked a lot about them needing a free safety to step in, to that role to allow both Kyle Duggars and Jabril Peppers to play in the box. Jalen Hawkins is a player we should be talking about more. He's been playing in that role. He had an interception today. There's going to be a lot of competition. The back end of that second, when I shouldn't say back end because that means safety. Like the last couple spots in that secondary, it's going to be highly, highly competitive between Alex Austin, Marco Wilson, Isaiah Bolden, Jalen Hawkins, Mikey Victor, the UDFA had a pass breakup today. I'm not saying that it's going to come down to like one of those guys. Multiple of those players could make the team, and they play slightly different positions. They'll play different roles, but it's going to be a real competition to find out who fills out this secondary, it looks like. And they're giving a lot of these guys some good chances.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Hawkins. He had the interception, and we were talking about during the offseason how free safety was a big need for this team. True free safety ever since the departure of Devin McCourty, or the retirement of Devin McCourty. He's not dead. Devin McCourty left, and they haven't really filled that role. Kyle Duggar doesn't really fill that role, at least the way you want him to. He's better down by the line of scrimmage anyway. So it was promising to see Jalen Hawkins out there making plays, and hopefully he can fill that role for him. Yeah, and the second corner spot is like one of the big spots on the roster that they need to fill. And like they got a lot out of Alex Austin from when they brought a guy that they brought in off the street for just a few games. It felt like they sort of got something out of him, maybe turned him into something. We've talked a lot about cornerback coach Mike Pellegrino doing a great job. So I feel like he's gonna figure it out. But that is a spot that they need to figure out. And I know that Jonathan Jones and Christian Gonzalez were limited out there. And I'm glad you mentioned Bolden too, because that was a guy who was sort of forgotten because he had the scary injury during the preseason last year. But up until that point, like you and I were both there every day, he was looking pretty good. I thought he was. We thought he might make the team. He was looking like more than just a special teams, backup guy. Like it looked like he could actually make plays. He could be a possible option in the secondary. I don't know that he's a starting number 2 corner. But he's got size and speed, and so maybe they can still develop something with him. But yeah, like it sucks that there's no definitive option there, but I do think they have options there as far as guys that they've gotten a lot out of and guys that are starting to make plays here and there, and hopefully a guy can sort of carve out that role for himself consistently.
One other quick note I'd say on the defense is before practice, Maye was asked if any players have surprised him so far, and he brought up Keon White unprompted. That's a guy, if he could take a step, that'd be huge because they're going to need edge guys. Matthew Judon's in a contract year, Josh Uche's in a contract year, Dietrich Wise another year older. And he's talked about him stepping up not just on the field, but as a leader. He's a guy that if they're going to play this more aggressive style of defense, which is what we've heard from DeMarcus Covington, he profiles as a fit for that. So him taking those next steps, and we really won't know with him until the pads come on, like where he's at physically. But Covington said he came in shape, all of that, and that's not everybody comes in shape. Like that's just the reality of it. Good to hear that Keon White is making strides.
Yeah, that's huge. I think he has a chance to be really, really good. If he even approaches the level of Christian Barmore as an edge player, that would make a huge difference, especially in the future with Matthew Judon's future sort of uncertain and him. But yeah, Keon White to me he's versatile, he's explosive, and he takes everything very seriously. He's no nonsense. He's all business. He's all about football. I mean that in a good way. Like people might talk to him and think like this guy's too serious for my liking, but I think he takes football very seriously, which is the most important thing for me. And so it seems like he's sort of dedicated, and he's sort of dedicated to getting better. And it feels like he is getting better. He came in here ready to go, and so that's all good sign for me. And I'm excited to see what he can do when we get to training camp.
We'll wrap it up on special teams because we did get some special teams looks today. Bryce Behringer hit some punts. He's back. Like he still looks good. The more interesting thing is Chad Ryland. So the Patriots said earlier we're on 2 fields for most of practice. When they weren't, Chad Ryland, Bryce Behringer, Joe Cardona, and Joey Sly, who's the other kicker, were off to the side working on field goals. Sly didn't kick. He was there, but he didn't kick. It was all Chad Ryland. At the end of practice, they come on 5 live field goal reps, hits the 4, convinced it. They were all about 40-ish yards. I was standing behind the goalpost to see if they were good. And because the angle with the hill, it was hard to see exactly where it was spotted, but all 40-ish yard kicks. Ryland hit the first 4, solidly. Didn't, not a lot of drama there. 5th one missed wide to the right by a good amount. So he remains a player to watch. I will say this. I think Joey Sly is here more as a reminder for Chad Ryland that his job isn't safe than has actual competition. I still think we have to look ahead. The UFL championship is on June 16th. After that, players in that league will be eligible to sign. If the Patriots want real competition for Chad Ryland, I think it comes from, because UFL is just loaded at kicker. I think it comes from one of these UFL kickers who they have to wait to sign until after that season's over.
Sorry, Barth, you've been breaking up throughout that entire comment.
Oh, just your thoughts on Chad Ryland today.
Oh, Barth, sorry. We're having real bad technical difficulties.
It looks like Matt's
breaking up.
All right, looks like Matt's breaking up. So you'll have to visit 985sportshub.com to see his thoughts on Chad Ryland. But we were going to wrap it up here anyway, so that works. So more OTA coverage on Matt, do we have you back?
I'm back now. Yeah, no, that was an absolute disaster. That last comment, it was breaking up. It was going dark. It was freezing.
All right. Well,
I thought you were waiting for me to talk, but I think you were just frozen. Oh, okay, an epic disaster. Sorry about that.
I think we're recording on my end. I think we're recording on my end, so we should be good. Let me just real quick.
A lot of editing ahead for you.
Your thoughts on
Chad Ryland? The kickers? All right.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I did hear the first part of what you're saying, and yeah, it was interesting that Joey Slye didn't kick at all. It was like a ball boy. It felt like for the kicking team, and like he's a big boy for a kicker. By the way, he's thick. He's a lot bigger than Chad Ryland. So I mean, I'd be surprised if he doesn't have a bigger leg than Chad Ryland. I know Chad Ryland has that power, but the accuracy feels like it's still an issue for Chad Ryland. And it's good to have a guy just sort of lurking, not to have at least the threat of competition. And I think you said something about the UFL wrapping up, and there's going to be more possibilities of kickers that they could sign. But yeah, no, Chad Ryland's the guy that needs to be pushed. And I know he had that clutch game-winning kick against the Broncos on Christmas Eve. People might argue that hurt the Patriots because they were already done for, and it was time to tank for a higher draft pick. So Chad Ryland hurt the Patriots by being good for one game. But yeah, no, he still needs to work on his consistency, I think. And yeah, it's good to have competition for him. And hopefully they continue to push him.
All right, that will actually do it for us on this episode of the Sports Hub Patriots podcast. For more, check out 985thesportshub.com. We both got coverage there again. Matt kind of narrowed in watching Drake Maye today. Big picture observations as I usually do. And we'll be back with another episode on, I think their next. So they practice again. The round out the week, Thursday and Friday. It's Tuesday, the 4th is their next open practice. So that's when we'll be back with another episode. Until then, make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcast, Sports Hub Patriots audio feed, and subscribe to the Sports Hub YouTube channel as well. So for Matt Dolloff, I'm Alex Barth. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time.